Hey guys, welcome back to Rooted for Resilience. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the normal stages, I think, of getting through grief and loss. I've been a licensed clinical social worker my whole career. I've worked with hundreds of folks and helping them make these transitions, much like I had to learn how to make my own. I mean, as I said in my last video, we all go through difficult things, we all go through challenges. But is there a way to get through it? Or what's normal, right? Is this normal? And what I want to say is it normal for you, right? You can't compare your grief journey or your transition or any of the things that you're going through that are challenging for you to how somebody else did it. We all have to find our own individual path. But I think that there are some similarities that we go through, and I want to talk a little bit about that. And I want to talk a little bit, just real quick for a minute, and tell you a little bit about how I came up with Rooted for Resilience. It was born of a desire to transition into something else, right? And I came up with the 4 R's, which are about recovery, reclaiming, reimagining, and rebuilding, right? So kind of keep that in mind as we move forward, and that's going to be something that I'll talk more about later. But right now, I want to talk a little bit about what that transition is like, right? So when it begins, we all begin this transition point with a desire to reestablish or have some kind of stability again in our life, whether it's a major surgery that you've gone through, or a health issue, or you lost your job, or you're getting a divorce, or something else that has happened in your life that has made you stop and question, why is this happening? What is the purpose in this pain? And there is purpose in pain. We know that, right? We know that we can learn a lot from the things that we go through, and we can help each other with the things that we have all faced. So the first thing I think is we want to reestablish some kind of stability in our lives. We want to get back to some normalcy, as folks like to call it. But sometimes losses don't restore us back to what was, right? We have to figure out what's going to bring stability back in our lives. Or maybe if something terrible has happened in our lives, we want to hold on to the things that have occurred. Um, we want to hold on to what we had, right? We want to have that stability in our lives. And oftentimes, when we're going through transitions, we just want to get to the end. We just want to get to the other side. We just want to, get back to all the good stuff, as it were. We just want the pain to end. We just want it to end. We want it to stop. And that's sometimes where we can block ourselves, right? Where we want to get to the ending before we've ever gone through the middle, right? I think in my own experience with trying to transition careers, for example, I want to be to the other side of it, and I'm not. And being in the messy middle or being in the beginning has been challenging, right? So you oftentimes there are opportunities around us, but we may not always see the opportunities that are being presented to us. But if we look for those opportunities, we do have the opportunity to reclaim our personal power, right? That's already going on, because nothing ever stays the same. Things are always changing. You can't see the growth of a blade of grass, right? But it's growing because you got to mow your yard. So it's change is always happening around us, and we can understand that there's flow to that, and not let wanting to be at the end block us. We can move forward to the embrace, right? Well, what is the embrace really? The embrace is, what can I learn from this pain? What can I learn from, this health issue, or my financial struggles, or maybe I've gone through betrayal in a relationship. Whatever it is, what can I learn from it, and how do I get to the end? Well, some of us really get stuck in that process. We ruminate and think too much about the things that have happened that have been painful. I myself have been guilty of that for sure. because my brain tells me, well, if I think about it enough, I can change it somehow. And again, that's not conscious. I don't think we all sit around and know that. We know that we can't change the past, we can't change what's already happened. But sometimes we get stuck in the emotion of the pain of what's happened. And that really can prevent our growth, can prevent us from going forward into the next thing that life is going to show us and show up for us, right? What opportunities are we going to get in this next stage of our lives, in this next transition, when we get to the other side of this? What are we going to learn? How are we going to grow? How are we going to change as a result of having gone through these painful things? Well, if I'm stuck just in the pain of the ending, I can't learn from that, right? And again, everybody's process is different. It took me a really long time, and I mean a really long time, to move through the pain of the loss, of the change, of everything that was going on. I felt like a tornado had come in and ripped my roots from the ground, right? That's part of how I got the Rooted for Resilience idea, right? Because I felt like that I had totally been uprooted. My life had been completely uprooted, and I didn't know how I was going to move forward, and what could I have done different, and why did this happen, and why did that happen. And it seemed like there were obstacles after obstacles after obstacles that I was encountering in moving forward. And I didn't understand at the time everything that was involved in that. I just knew that I had to get through it, and I relied on the skills that I had from my life, from getting through hard things, right? But I had to disconnect from a part of myself, or I did disconnect from a part of myself, from my heart. I got too much up into my head because I knew how to do hard things, but in the process I had to shut down my heart oftentimes and not feel the pain. I didn't want to feel the pain. I didn't want to understand it. I didn't want to embrace it. I didn't want to be in it. And what I've learned is that you've got to go through it, right? To get to the other side. You can't stop. Well, you can, I guess, stop in the middle. And as a therapist, this is where I've often encountered folks, right? I always say to my clients, nobody comes into therapy when their life is going well. People come into therapy when they're going through tough transitions in their life and they need some help navigating that journey or navigating that recovery. And as a therapist, I know that that's not always easy. As a person, my own journey, I know that that's not always easy, but it is essential. So if you're going through the storms of life, if you're in the middle of a painful cycle of your life, just know that you can get to the other side, right? And you can have hope and you can believe. And again, I think this is why we need one another, right? It's easier sometimes when we can have other people to support us, because they can go, me too. That happened to me too. I felt that way too. So we don't feel so isolated in our emotional pain. That's really, really important. It is that sense of isolation that can really create a lot of challenges for us. So um, I just want to encourage you, if that's a point in your life that you're at, just to keep moving, just to keep going. So because when you get to the other side of this, something inside you will shift, right? You will have become a person who can use your pain to help other people, right? The wounded warrior, the person who offers guidance to others, right? Who has to sometimes reconstruct, reimagine what their life is going to look like, build boundaries, say no, let go of relationships that don't work for you, let go of things that are draining you. That's how I got to the position of making the decision to leave my job. I just felt emotionally and mentally drained, and there was nothing left for me. And that was that was like the final storm, right? But it took me several years to get to that place, and to say to myself, I'm worth more. I'm worth more. And you are too. We're all worth more. We all deserve happiness and love and fulfillment and joy. We all deserve those things. And sometimes we have to go through challenging times in order to get to the other side. right? In order to be able to shift our focus from the pain to what am I learning? What am I, I'm going to have wounds, right? Anytime we go through any kind of difficulty or war, we have wounds, we have things that we have to work out and work through. But those are the things that give us the experience and the wisdom. And for those of us who are in my stage of life, we have a ton of wisdom to share with other people. And for the people that are younger and in different stages of their life, we have wisdom to share with you. And um, I've learned that I don't always know where my help is going to come from. So I have to keep an open mind, right? To learn from other people who may not have gone through the same things, who may be in a different phase of their life. It's not that they can't teach me anything, it's just I have to change my perspective sometimes, right? I have to be open minded and be willing to try new things. So when I've gone through the embrace of the pain, when I've shifted and I've learned from that, then I'm able to step into a new beginning, right? I can adopt a beginner's mindset of things. I can begin to open my heart again because I have learned that pain, especially emotional pain, right? It really can shut our hearts down if we allow it. And when we're willing to open up, embrace whatever it is that we're going through, we can find our joy on the other side of that. And that's the wisdom that we gain when we get to the other side of this transition point in our lives. So if that's you, I just want to encourage you to keep going. Don't stop in the middle. You'll have opportunities to reimagine how your life can be, and then you can begin to rebuild it. Not all at once, like I said, for myself, it's taken me time to figure out what I wanted to rebuild. Did I have a solid foundation to rebuild on? I needed to do some foundation work, right? If I was going to rebuild after that incredible storm, sometimes it's just a minor storm, and sometimes it's a tornado that just flattens and destroys everything, right? But we can recover, we can rebuild, we can reimagine our lives as being something different. And then we can re-engage with the world, right? We can re-engage with the people in our lives that mean something to us, that matter to us. So the pain has a purpose. That's what I've learned. And I hope that this has helped you to maybe reevaluate how you see your own transition. So let me know. Let me know in the comments what's been helpful for you in moving through and embracing transition points in your life, no matter what that was, because we all need one another to get through this process. So let me know, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye bye.